Hey everybody, Zee Garcia here, and today I'm taking a look at a two-player fish collecting game called Ice Team. In this game, each player is going to have a team of 4 polar bears, and you're going to be moving them along ice floes, going to different igloos, collecting fish, visiting your penguin friends, trying to have the most fish at the end of the game. And if you do so, then you are going to be the winner. It's a very cute game. It's a fairly short game. But let's go ahead and dive into it, see how the game works. We'll come on back after that. I'll tell you what I think of it. To set up the game, we're going to randomly build the board with these diamond-shaped pieces, and then we're going to randomize tokens on them. The tokens are double-sided, and it does not mention in the rulebook if you just mix both sides randomly and then lay them out, but I assume you do. And then you've got your 4 bears per player over here, the 2 dice, the fish, and you are ready to begin. So, what you're trying to do is have the most fish once the game is over, and on your turn, you are going to take 2 actions. The actions are going to involve moving a bear, and then dealing with whatever spot it ended up in. During the very first player's first round, they only take 1 action. So we're going to say that green player here is going to be first, and they are going to move a bear over here from the starting location out onto the board. The different tiles are going to have different effects, and you can move in one of 3 different ways. You can simply move to an adjacent space. So if I am on this space, I can simply move to one of these spaces. You can swim in a straight line to the next available tile. So if my bear is here, I could swim in a straight line through the empty space to this tile. And then there's also a leapfrogging move, which of course they call leap bearing, which would entail doing something like this. If this was what the setup looks like, this one here could go 1 and then stop, or it could even leap multiple ones. You could turn at the middle of the leap, so I could do this and this. So there you go, those are your movement options. So again, green player goes, they're going to land on this spot here, and that spot is a shifting tile. That tile is drawn with movement lines behind it, the ice flow. If you do that, then that tile can move, and it can move in one of 2 ways. You can either do a free move, which just means it floats until it gets to wherever you want to stop. So let's say, just for our example here, these tiles are missing, okay? I land on this. I can either do that free move, in which I just float to wherever I want to and I stop, or I can do a push move, which is if I'm coming from this direction and I land on it, it could push until I want to stop everything in its space. It cannot push any tile out of the formation, but you can push as far as you want to. It does not need to drift until it stops. You get to choose to stop early if you want to do that. So putting these back over here, and that player lands there. They have to move if at all possible. So it's going to drift to there. And then the red player would go. Now, the green player did not really take a particularly smart first move, because you definitely want to stop on these igloos. When you stop on an igloo, you're going to get 1 fish. There's 1 fish placed on each one of them. So the red player has 1. And then you roll one of these dice, and it tells you what else you get. In this case, a single extra fish. And they put that there. You can roll 2, you could roll 3, or you could roll that face, which means steal 2 fish from your opponent. You'll notice the fish here have 2 sides. There's the unfrozen and the frozen side. And if they are frozen, which is what the penguins you see everywhere will do, then it cannot be stolen. So that's red's first move, and for their second action, they are going to leap bear. So they're going to jump over this one, land on that. It shows 5 penguins, which means these can get frozen and they will not be stolen. It goes back to the green player. The green player gets 2 actions. They're going to move on to this spot first, and it shows footprints. Once they're done there, if you end on that tile, you get to activate that bear again for free. So they are going to do that. They're going to go to this tile, and this one, because the ice is cracked, is going to sink. And now they take their second action with a bear, which could be the same bear or a different one. They're going to move to this one. They're going to take that one fish. They'll roll, and they have 2 extra fish. So this is what the green player has. There. Back to the red player. The red player might go... they're going to move to this one. This one sinks because the ice is cracked. And the footprints means they go again. So they go to this spot. They get that fish. They roll. They get a single extra fish. And this one also sinks. And then they do their second action in which they are going to swim with this bear, same bear, across this empty space to that ice flow there. This continues. There's a couple of things you haven't seen yet. I think, well, the shifting tiles you saw, extra actions. That's pretty much it. You've seen every possible action, I think. Some of them are simply empty and will not vanish under your feet after you move. Once a player makes it all the way to the end board there, you're going to roll both dice, and you're going to pick one of the 2 to activate. In this case, if your player has 2 unfrozen fish, then you really don't, there's no option there. You take them from the other player. And again, you're trying to freeze this so they cannot be stolen. This continues with the board emptying out, players being able to sort of zip around it a little more quickly. Once someone gets all 4 of their bears to the final tile, then they do the final double roll and picking a die for the last bear. And the game is over. You count how many fish you have. Whoever has the most fish is going to be the winner of the game. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Once you've emptied out an igloo, by the way, it's empty. Landing there does nothing else. Let's go back up top. Let me tell you what I think of it. So there you go, that's Ice Team. I have to say I was really excited about this game. There's a couple of reasons for that. One, it's from 2 designers I really like, Bruno Cathala, Matthew Dunstan. I like both of their games quite a bit. Also, it's from the Flying Games, and their previous 2-player offering, also from Bruno Cathala, was a game called Jurassic Snack that I really liked. It had beautiful little miniatures, much like these, and the game was interesting. It had few rules, but it was strategic, and the whole thing flowed nicely. It was a small package, but it offered more than the silly sort of trappings would lead you to believe. And so I was hoping here I would get the same sort of treatment, and unfortunately, it's just not the case. This game I found rather disappointing. So let's go ahead and dive into why I felt that way, okay? I'm going to start here with the positives, the things I did like in the game, and then we'll finish with why I had some issues with it, okay? So we're going to start with thematic ties. I like the theme. It's an attractive theme. It's a cute setting. The leap bearing rule does not make any sense in the game, and it's only there because mechanically it needs to be there. But overall, I do like the idea, what you're doing in the game. You know, you're these silly bears jumping around or swimming around, collecting fish, visiting the penguins because they have freezing technology, I guess. And so it's cute. Sure, it works. The other thing I like is the aesthetics. The game looks good. The penguins are, the bears rather, are very nice miniatures. The dice are nicely made, good cardboard quality. The whole thing is a nice production. The rulebook is a little lacking. I wish that they would have been a little more specific. Like I said, those tiles are double-sided, but they just say set up the board randomly. I assume that means either side of those tiles, but they don't spell that out. And so I just went with my gut. I figured that's what they meant, but that wasn't really specific. So there you go. Lastly, game length. The game is short. It's a 20-minute game, so that works for me. And then the things I did not like are replayability. Even though there is a lot of random setup, all the tiles will be different. You can do different arrangements of the board, which is nice. The game really plays about the same each time you play. So it feels like fake randomness, It doesn't really matter that it is different and random. Technically, it sets up a different puzzle, but you'll see it really does not matter. Ease of play. there are simply too many little rules here. There are rules all over the place. You know, with this, when you move, you can move one of 3 ways. When you push on an ice floe, you can push one of 2 ways. When you do this, you do that. When it's a lot of that stuff. And it does not seem to warrant that, because when we look at tactics and strategy and luck, the whole thing comes down to luck. The game sets up this interesting puzzle, gives you a bunch of rules to manipulate that puzzle, and then the winner at the end is absolutely random, in my opinion. You roll dice, you see what you get. You might as well just roll a few times at the beginning of the game and see what happens, and you've got your winner. That's how this feels. It's sort of an ill-fitting kids theme with kids scoring, but too many rules for that. Or it's a cute game that appeals to the family, and they can handle the rules. They can solve the little puzzles presented, which, are kind of neat, but then the scoring doesn't matter. So there's a mismatch there of those two things. I just did not find that whatever you did in the game influenced the outcome of the game pretty much, at all. If maybe a little bit, but really, it just didn't matter. It didn't feel like I was doing anything that ultimately mattered. It's a very unsatisfactory end game for this experience. So, there you go. My bottom line is as follows. While it looks like a strategic, abstract-style game with a cute theme, the gameplay and scoring are very random and do not warrant so many little rules in the way. This is going to get a 4 out of 10 from me. I cannot recommend it. I will recommend the Flying Games last effort, that game Jurassic Snack. That's a good, cute 2-player game with interesting rules that feed a strategic gameplay and a strategic approach to the little puzzles presented. But this one just did not do it for me. And again, I find there's a big mismatch there between the mechanical approach and the dice rolling. Those two things clash for me. So there you go. Ice Team. Can't recommend it, but there are a lot of 2-player games out there, so you can always check out one of those. That's it for me, everybody. I'm Zee Garcia. I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for watching another Dice Tower video. If you enjoy our videos, subscribe to the channel for more fun, comprehensive board game coverage. Also, consider joining us at one of our events. Come to Dice Tower Retreat, a small, intimate gathering where gaming is king. Join us for Dice Tower Cruise, the largest board game cruise. Attend Dice Tower West in Las Vegas for gaming fun on the West Coast, or Dice Tower East in Orlando in sunny Florida. Dice Tower Conventions, the friendliest gaming conventions on Earth. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.